Ow. Good morning, everybody. Today is Sunday, May 10th, 2020. Today is Mother's Day. My name is Bill Woodcock, and you're watching or listening to another edition of Forward Maryland. With me today, as very, very often, is the indomitable Jason Booms. Jason, how are you celebrating Mother's
Hello.
Day?
Hey, Bill. Oh gosh, it's actually a relatively low-key day. Set my mom. Let's see. Well, meant to send my mom flowers in time for today, but we'll worry about that a bit later. We're often belated in our sharing of Mother's Day gifts. How about you?
Well, I actually messaged my mom on Mother's Day. My mom and dad divorced at a very early age. And so I don't really have many memories of my mom, but I did wish her a very happy Mother's Day, tagged her in a Facebook post. And I am honoring also my mother figures, my grandmother and my great grandmother today. And people will think this is a goof, but this is actually for real, by wearing this hat, which is not a Stone Temple Pilots hat. It is a hat for STP oil treatments.
Yes.
STP, for longtime NASCAR aficionados, will know, and I'm sure there are many of them watching or listening to this podcast, was the sponsor of the great champion Richard Petty. And both my grandmother and great grandmother were great fans of Richard Petty as I was growing up in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So this hat is actually a callback to them, and not to be confused with any political message, because we all know that anything working class white has now been appropriated by racists and supremacists. So back in the day when the Jonathan Winters character in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World said, and I quote, "The most American thing you could do is pay your taxes." How many white truck drivers would say that today?
Oh God, that just takes me back to my time at Elias Brothers, when I used to spend some quality conversations with a truck driver by the name of Brent, who no doubt is, if he's still alive today, is definitely a Trump voter. But he would always enjoy Mother's Day greatly, because that was the day everyone went out to eat at the restaurants. We really had to load up for those special occasions, so it was always a very festive day.
Well, that's good. It should be a festive day.
But I would like to recognize a few mothers, if you don't mind, just very quickly as part of this before we move on.
Absolutely, it's been a while.
Oh yeah. I do want to recognize Ma Barker, Ma Kettle, Danzig's mother, of course, Mama Cass, Mother Jones, and finally, one of the baddest mothers of all, John Brown, who would have turned 220 years old yesterday.
John Brown was rowdy before rowdy was cool. This is for sure.
Man of action. Gotta love it. American hero.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. So, Jason, we start this week, as we must, with the 800-pound gorilla in the room, or unfortunately, 4 million person infecting around the world gorilla in the room. And to paraphrase the great Red Barber, it is this week in coronavirus. We have seen things happen quite rapidly to this past week. We have seen the White House become a COVID-19 hotspot. We have seen 47, I believe. I think now it's actually 48 out of the 50 states, except for Massachusetts and New York, begin some sort of reopening activity, even if that's like in Maryland, opening up certain outdoor activities. In Maryland, it looks like if current trends continue, we could be on the path towards entering our own phase one on Wednesday. But also this week, we should be getting the first numbers from the states that reopened a couple of weeks ago, and we should be starting to see if there are spikes in cases or deaths that are pronounced in those states. due to their reopening activities. So, there's a lot of things going on, and what are you tracking? What are you tracing? No pun intended. With
Well,
respect to the pandemic this week.
well, I want to first of all preface my comments by saying that I am not a medical professional, much like our president. So, I mean, I'm not sure how authoritatively I can speak on this, but I will say this: it does seem to me as though the proposed phase one is going to lead to a very sharp spike for the second wave, which everyone has been acknowledging could be very problematic if we open prematurely. It seems premature. I have no basis for that beyond the data that I've read. So I find it to be very concerning. I find the behaviors of certain elected officials to be extremely troubling in this situation. Standing out, perhaps one of the most prominently among them is South Dakota Governor. I can never remember her name. Christy, what Noam, Nom?
Right?
That,
Is
yeah,
it Noam?
yeah, that,
Christy Noam?
yeah, that who has I guess ordered I want to say some of the Sioux tribes that set up a screening locations to shut those down, which seems extraordinarily insane, irresponsible from a public health perspective. You know, just grossly ill-timed and ill thought out, and yeah. So it's also the behaviors when you're seeing people that aren't relying on science but are relying on whatever their gut tells them to do. Even more closer to home, we have Congressman Harris saying idiotic things, despite the fact he is a medical doctor of some sort, isn't he?
He is. I believe he's a pediatrician, I believe. I'm not sure, but I
Yeah.
think that's what he was before being a congressman.
Okay. Yeah, he should have his license yanked. But yeah, so I don't know. It just seems. I mean, as someone who would obviously all of us would love to get out more, would love to to go back and interact with humans, as we did, in in a certain sense with our personal and professional lives. But it just seems, based on the death rates, the infection rates, it seems irresponsible to do so yet.
It does seem premature. It seems probably about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer premature. Governor Cuomo has said nothing's going to happen in New York until May the 15th. And it does look like he's leaning towards doing some sort of reopening in New York. But I mean, New York has been in a downward trend for about 2.5 weeks now. So more so than the CDC guidelines, which also, incidentally, the White House decided to ignore this week.
Mhm.
Um, on writ large, there seems to be, this is yet another act of defiance by this current administration. And I guess I'm amazed that it took this long in coming. We already have an administration who has ignored military experts, who has ignored economic experts, and just done whatever they've needed to do or they've wanted to do. Cavort with Russia and China and North Korea, spend into infinity, record high deficits. And it's kind of amazing that they've listened to public health officials and public health experts this long.
Mhm.
And they've undercut their own message. And in fact, not they, the president has undercutted his own message, and he knows it, and he doesn't care by standing at the podium 1 minute and saying we want everybody to take precautions, and then sending out the liberate Minnesota, liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia tweets. Not to mention he and the vice president not wearing masks when they go places and all of those things. I think the story of this week will be that either the president or the vice president will become positive for COVID-19. It's extremely close. You look at Stephen Miller's wife. She was negative one day and positive the next. And I also find it ironic that they are now getting the contact tracing and the testing in the White House that they've denied regular people. Daily or on demand testing.
Mhm.
So this is how I see this is on the razor's edge from completely spiraling out of control. And I think this week will tell the story. I think we'll see what goes on in some of these other states that decided to reopen a couple of weeks ago. I think then that will inform other states' decisions. And do they go ahead knowing, where they are, or do they go back? I mean, and look at Maryland as one example. I mean, Governor Hogan said he's going to look at hospitalizations because due to the increased number of testing, of course, the case numbers are going to go up. Well, hospitalizations are down, and so that's a positive thing. And the state does have a robust testing system, supposedly. They do have enough PPE, supposedly, even after he canceled the contract with the company Blue Flame, with Republican Party connected people in front of it. And after before they've already gotten paid half of their cost of their contract. Um, and so, what will Hogan do on Wednesday or Thursday of this week if, say, Georgia, South Carolina, the places that opened early, Florida, start spiking up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? That's a very hard decision. I actually think he will still go ahead and go into a phase one. But, we need to be careful because we are now entering another phase of this that it has the potential to be very bad, and as with the rest of everything that we've dealt with this, is it's unprecedented. So I hate to sound gloomy and doomy, but I am going to tell everybody to hold on to their seats because I think we are going to have a hell of a ride this week.
It does seem like this next couple of weeks will be very challenging. And obviously you have a public health background, yeah, I don't, I don't, but simultaneously it does seem as though it's ill-timed and it's just too early.
Yeah. So let's hope we're wrong. I certainly will be happy to be wrong. And if it's not too early and people are doing their things, I will say this, I do have a little bit more faith in Marylanders to be responsible with my goings out and about this week, and even going to a golf range yesterday to go practice golf. People self-distanced. People were, I felt secure. I felt happy, and I didn't feel like I was in danger. I was following all the guidelines that people say. So, let's knock on wood that people's common sense prevails. Although every time I see a bunch of knuckleheads waving guns around in the state capitol, I get a little bit sadder about common sense prevailing.
Yeah, I mean that is, I suppose. I feel poorly for my home state and the number of people that still believe that this isn't serious, or still believe that it's some sort of hoax of some sort, and just refuse to believe anything that's being reported in the media. It's very sad.
This culture of let's do what we want is toxic. There have been results from this let's do as we want pardon me culture, ranging from the ridiculous and sublime, videos of park rangers in Texas being pushed into bodies of water because they're being told, they're telling kids to socially distance and such, to the tragic. And you look at the case of Calvin Munnerlyn, the dollar store security guard with 8 kids who told a lady she needed to have a mask on, and threw her out of the store, and then brought back her husband and his son because he disrespected her, and he wound up shot and killed as a result. That's not good. That's very, very terrible, in fact. We can't have this.
Yeah, and by the way, I just need to comment on the gutlessness of the Michigan militia type folks who, I love watching conspiracy theory videos. I don't believe in them, but I like watching them. They're fun for me. I've watched prepper videos, And these folks that are supposed to be so badass, they've got their weaponry. That they probably don't know how to point an AR-15 the right direction, but you know they're badasses. But you know, oh, I'm hunkered down. We're ready to be all right for 9 months, a year. These assholes can't get a fucking haircut after 3 weeks and they go crazy. I mean, just, you know, complete cowards. So anyway.
90% of these camo wearing, pickup top driving, POW flag having in the back, you know, blue line flag waving people are cowards, and they're gutless, and they would never do what it takes to put themselves in the position, pardon me, of a public safety official, a first responder, much less be a soldier in a hostile country who would become a prisoner of war. And so it really is one of the things that galls my guts most, that supposedly, because I'm on the left of the spectrum, I'm a snowflake, yet these wusses with masculinity issues, you know, parade around as, you know, some sort of paragon of manliness. It's frankly disgusting. So,
Which actually I think probably leads quite well into the next topic.
Indeed it does. Mm-hmm. Indeed it does. And this is by far, I mean, to say this is an outrage is quite the understatement. But we're talking about now the shooting of an African American jogger in the state of Georgia, Arnaud Arbery, who was via a cell phone video was apprehended by a former Georgia police officer and his son. I no idea if this was some sort of citizen's arrest or what have you.
It didn't look like that way to me.
But it just looked like somebody was just trying to kick somebody's ass, is really what it looked like. And the young man, Mr. Arbery, was shot by a shotgun and killed. And this has become now the latest case of somebody being killed for the crime of being black. And of course, I say crime of very facetiously, on purpose. Now, people have been arrested and they have been charged. Little bit of a delay by the great state of Georgia in bringing charges against these people and in deciding to arrest them, because my God, looking at the video, it's pretty clear who these people are, and it's pretty clear that they knew where this crime was taking place. You know, and it's a shame that we're talking about this again, about an unarmed black man being killed for being black and being where, quote unquote, he didn't need to be again. Is there anything about this that is not disgusting?
Well, I mean, I'll just go ahead. I mean, it was a lynching. It was a lynching in plain sight, in public, and it's and the shocking thing is how many folks tend to deflect the issue or try to redirect the issue. You know, I've had folks, I've seen conversations that talk about, oh, well, you know, it's you know, the availability of social media that raises these issues to the fore. And that's why we're hearing about this. Well, that's not the point. I mean, we all know video with Rodney King was something that, you know, was in the 90s was brought, you know, to the attention of many Americans, the idea of police brutality, clear evidence of it. And now we have a couple of private citizens murdering someone. And of course, it's not just Ahmaud Arbery. I remember I was reading, you know, I mean, any day, any random day, you can find a story. A woman named, I think, Breonna Taylor was killed in her house for no reason at all. It is absolutely disgusting. It's reprehensible, and the fact that this hasn't changed the continual. I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words. Just the reoccurrence of this, and people not recognizing the seriousness of the structural racism going on in our society is absolutely reprehensible. Now, I'll probably be called a social justice warrior by some idiot or another, but I mean, this is an ongoing American tragedy. What will cause it to stop? I have no idea. Um, I will say this, and the delay was a couple of months from when I believe it was in February when this actually occurred, his murder. I would not complain at all if the murderers were doxxed or if the DA was doxxed. I'm just saying that wouldn't be the worst thing to happen. You know. Anyway, sorry, I can't say anything else, or else I'll start swearing.
It's a breathtaking thing because we have been here so many times. I mean, of the many, many cases of injustice and horrific crimes, capital crimes against people of color, for the sake of just being a person of color that I can think of, the one that strikes me most, as this is being most similar to, is Philando Castile. You know, a young man who was, you know, just shot in the stomach for asking questions and killed and bled out on Facebook Live. I mean, that is not who we are as a people. That is not who we are as a country. But I can't believe I'm quoting, of all people, you know, Barry Switzer, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, by saying this. Or no, it may have been Bill Parcells. But the record says who you are. And the record is clear about where we are as a country, and we have a severe racial problem. Here's one thing I think should happen, and I don't see this as being symbolic, and let me tell you why. So, as you know, Jason, I mean, I loved me my Amy Klobuchar for many, many months. You know, by the way, I'm on the ballot as a Klobuchar delegate. Please vote in your District 3 ballot to send me to the Democratic Convention. But Joe Biden, who has been living the life of Riley, frankly, in my opinion, these past couple of months, because he doesn't need to do anything. I mean, he is doing things, but he frankly doesn't need to be doing anything because Trump has been completely effing up from one side to the next for the last 2 months. Joe Biden needs to name Stacey Abrams as his running mate, and he needs to do that soon. And I'll tell you why. Not just because of her activism in her state of Georgia and other places to get Black people and other people of color to register and to vote, and her advocacy of ending what amounts to, you know, 1950s era polling policies in southern states, just warmed over and under another legal, covering. But we need somebody, we need to have a conversation about how we are treating ourselves and how people of color are being treated. And as I have said on this podcast and in personal life many, many times, the plight of working class people, be they black, brown, red, yellow, or white, are very, very closely linked. And some light needs to be shined that brings that out in full relief and that makes people, regardless of their walk of life, go, oh, holy crap, this is a problem. And without too much trouble, this could be me. This could be me. I believe that the injustice that we see to people of color in the South is very similar to the plight and to what working class white people feel in the upper Midwest, in the Northeast, in the Mid South, and in the Southwest, and what brown people feel in the Southwest and on the Pacific. You know, there needs to be a popular revolution that not just throws out this administration, but what throws out, everything about Trump and Trumpism that there exists. So I really do hope that this is the call Vice President Biden makes, because this is maybe the best bit of service he could do for his country, and he has always been a man of service. And and Stacey Abrams is a wonderful candidate, definitely qualified to be vice president, which means she's qualified to be president, and to have two people who have generally always stood on the side of what's right and what is decent, fighting back against this, not just this corrupt administration, but this corruption in American society and morality. I think it would be tremendous.
Um, yeah, I have a slightly different take on it. I just maybe this is just a mood I'm in today. So bear with me. Actually, no, it's not a mood I'm in. I'm in a bad mood always, but that's beside the point.
Oh no,
the,
no.
No, but working class whites, I don't think, I just don't, they don't get it. They don't see the alignment. They don't see the possibilities. At times in our society and our nation's history, we and especially among what's been described as, the far left, you do see attempts at building a multicultural, multiracial coalition designed to change policy, but American society writ large. I just, if you combine the disproportionately unfair treatment, whether talking about taxation, environment, criminal justice, what have you, that Black and brown people have to face in our society, I just don't see the consciousness being raised sufficiently of white America to say, "Oh my God, we've been wrong all these years to change our policies." I mean, if from the fact that white folks can get worked up over which shooting was it on December 14th? I don't honestly remember which shooting it was of all those kids. I mean, if that doesn't motivate some sort of level of societal change.
Parkland, Florida.
Yeah,
yeah. That was on February 14th.
No,
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, there was one on this. I mean, I think it was in Connecticut. What?
Oh, Newtown.
Yeah, Newtown. If they can get their consciousness raised over the shooting deaths of small children, who presumably in many cases, sort of look like them, I don't see what. Maybe I'm being pessimistic, but I don't see what the possibility is for actually genuinely moving our society past this. I mean, maybe Trump, who is both a cause and a symptom, maybe after our American experience with that, we're going to see something different. I don't know. Stacey, I mean, just turning quickly to the Stacey Abrams question. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why should be a good person on the ticket. I don't know if that'll be game changing enough. I still don't know if that particular ticket is the winning one or not. I don't
know. I sense your frustration, and I sense a sense of exasperation, and I get it. I understand it. I guess where I'm coming from is more the standpoint of fighting the battle in a different way. Whereas, you're right. People aren't identifying with individual actions. But Biden's entire raison d'etre behind his presidency has been Donald Trump is an existential threat to the American way of life. I think we can agree to that.
I would say that's true.
What better way to demonstrate that than the many ways that he has thrown people against each other and his disregard for American life, which takes many, many forms. He has committed what essentially are war crimes. He's in this pandemic. Remember the bombing in Iran where he said no Marines were injured, and turns out 110 of them have had traumatic brain injuries. Yeah. Look at, firing Captain Crozier, under his watch. He has systematically disrespected every segment of American life. And to look at it from a meta standpoint, I don't understand. I mean, there will still be that 40+% who vote for him, which is horrible. But I mean, plus, let's not forget something. 3 months ago, this man was impeached. He was impeached 3 months ago.
Doesn't that seem like a lifetime ago?
It does. And I just, I don't just want a 280 vote electoral victory. I want 400. And I guess I'm trying to think of how to get there. And I think to call this man out and call what every single person who has worked for him, to call out what they stand for, I think that's a compelling case.
The only thing I will say this, the thing that concerns me is the direction the Biden campaign, assuming the presumptive nominee becomes the actual nominee. I'm always concerned about. I'm concerned about Joe Biden. In a similar situation, yeah, Tony Blair in the 90s picked up over 400 seats in his first election to the premiership. Which is there's 630 seats in parliament, so it was an overwhelming win, but at what cost? The Labor Party wasn't the true representative of the working people anymore. They made too many compromises with corporate interests. What sort of compromises might Joe Biden make in an effort to get an overwhelming electoral victory? I hope he does get an overwhelming electoral victory, but I hope he does it on democratic terms.
Well, and I guess that's my premise. Is democratic terms in my world right now equal human terms. And this is the most un-American administration we have ever had. And people, no matter who they are, where they from, what day of the week they go to church on, age, color, gender identification, whatever, there is absolutely nothing to like about this man. And there are no perfect candidates. There was no perfect candidate amongst the 27 who ran, but we have who we have, and I guess that I say we go with that.
All right, fair enough.
Meanwhile, on to a much smaller scope, as the Ant-Man shrink down to a local Howard County district level. Very curious endorsement, and of all places, the 5th District Board of Education race. Mm-hmm. In that four-way dance, former Howard County executive Alan Kittleman has come out of electoral dormancy, not just to post ridiculous pictures of himself on Facebook doing things, and wearing bandanas, but
he's wearing bandanas. What's he? What?
He's wearing bandanas as his mouth covering. He is a latter-day Quick Draw McDraw. Rather, he has come out to endorse Board of Education candidate Gene Ryan. What's fascinating about this is that he's using his Alan Kittleman, Howard County Executive, Proven Independent Leader banner for his endorsement. Now, I know that Alan and I'm pretty sure he has people who know how to use Photoshop. So they could simply trim off parts of that logo, but they're using the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So, I know it's 2020, but thinking about 2022, could we be seeing a Kittleman Redux and a Kittleman Ball rematch in 2022?
That wouldn't surprise me. Speaking also of District 5 and Cindy Valancourt, before she jumped in, I'm like, she's acting like a candidate. So, I felt a comeback was in the offing, and sure enough, no great matter of prognostication that. But turning to Kittleman, that wouldn't surprise me if he still wishes to seek in public service on the grace note on which he ended his first term, coming out to congratulate Dr. Ball. I think there's probably still a lot of good feeling for Kittleman. And frankly, it doesn't seem as though the gubernatorial route is an option. I mean, you probably saw that junk straw poll that the Maryland Republicans put out, where surprisingly no one mentioned Alan Kittleman's name. So out of 15 other folks, including such heavyweights as Robin Biker, can I say something else? But it's, I mean, I would not be surprised. I mean, he is frankly the strongest Republican they can put up. And if he feels as though endorsing Ryan just helps reestablish his relevance, that would just be another step along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Alan Kittleman has been fond of Gene Ryan for several years, going back to a ill-fated enterprise that Mr. Ryan tried to put together in Symphony Woods a few years ago.
Has Ryan been in Howard County for that long? I thought he just came from New Jersey like last week or something.
No, he's been in Howard County for quite some time.
Oh,
you know, and so that was at the urging and recommendation of the county executive, and that really turned out fantastically well. You know, I see it the same way. I mean, you know, you look at the putative county exec field in 2022 for the Republicans, and you have Greg Fox, a former councilman, who may not be interested in running and would probably, even if he were interested, would defer if one of his mentors, i.e. Alan Kittleman, decided to run. I do believe that the two female candidates for Board of Education in various districts this year could be possible countywide candidates in the future.
Yeah, and CDS's fundraising demonstrates either District 1, and geography speaking, I mean, from a swing district, she would on paper be an interesting candidate.
Right. And we have shared privately thoughts about that, but more on those in the coming months, to be sure. So, you know, and you never know. I mean, Jim Walsh, who ran unsuccessfully for county council in 2018, could be a contender. You know, you never know if a Warren Miller, you know, might put his hat into the ring. You know, just to shake things up and do something ridiculous.
I'm sure Hogan would love Warren Miller jumping into this thing.
You know, Dennis Schrader will be leaving the being the head of the Maryland Department of Health. You know, former county executive candidate there and former county council member. So who knows? I mean, there are people. But you know, I also would not be surprised, and I would also say that Alan Kittleman would lead all of the above.
But so, how do you think his endorsement will play in District 5? Do you think is that a game changer? Is that enough to get Ryan into the final two?
Well, I definitely think it's a finger in the wind, isn't it? It definitely is as you said. It definitely is to see what sort of currency the Kittleman name has. You know, in terms of the final two, I actually see Gene Ryan without the endorsement outside of the final two. To be honest, the two I see getting through would have been Valancourt and Saif Raymond, who was on this show not too long ago. Yeah. I would see Gene Ryan as maybe third or maybe even fourth. So if he does come in, that would be as one of the top two and get through the primary, that would be suggestive that that endorsement's carrying weight.
Yeah, but it still means something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we shall see. Well, Jason, we are at the end of another outstanding episode of this fine production. Anything you have in closing?
Yeah, just one last thing. I think any voters in your home district, District 2, would probably be greatly troubled by some of the recent the recent Board of Education forum, and how one of the candidates, Okono's own LaPrette, slamming teachers as part of his closing remarks, I think. But or anyway. So yeah, irresponsible lunatic. So let's hope he loses and loses badly.
Yes, I would suggest voters in District 2 vote for either Antonio Watts or James Cecil. You have two great candidates in District 2. As Meatloaf tells us, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But we certainly have an option, and I am proud to admit that having filled out my ballot and mailed it down this morning, I am once again a non-voter for Larry Pretlow. So I proudly cast my vote against him and in favor of someone else. And I invite thousands of my fellow District 2 constituents to do the same. So,
I just was
Larry, if you're out there, you have a great day.
one thing. This takes the circle to its completion. Like the STP cap is a nod to your mom and to your grandma. My mom back in the '70s absolutely loved playing Meatloaf's "Bat Out of Hell" album on the record player. So,
Yeah.
nice call out.
Yes, awesome. So with that, we bring this edition to a close. Please feel free to follow us on Facebook and on the Forward Maryland webpage and iTunes, Google Podcasts, all sorts of places. So I'm Bill Woodcock,
And I'm Jason Booms.
and we will be coming at you later in the week with another edition of Forward Maryland. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.